Welcome to Afghanews with Moss and Jamal. American officers deployed as mentors in Afghanistan's main military hospital discovered that injured soldiers routinely died of simple infections and had even stormed to death as some doctors and nurses demanded bribes for food in the most basic of care, the Wall Street Journal reported Saturday. The discovery added new details to long-standing evidence of gross mismanagement at the Dawood National Military Hospital in Kabul, where most salaries and supplies are paid for the American taxpayers. Yet the patient neglect continued for months after U.S. officials discovered it. As Afghan officials rebuffed American pressure to take action, multiple documents and testimonies viewed by the Wall Street Journal showed the way senior Afghan officials tolerated such daily graphs showed just how deeply rooted corruption became under President Hamid Karzai's administration, as well as the limits of Washington's ability to rein in it. American advisors have since forced an improvement in conditions at the hospital. 4 Turkish engineers kidnapped by Afghan Taliban more than 8 months ago were freed overnight after intervention by tribal elders. The men taken captive in December in eastern Paktia province were handed to the International Committee of the Red Cross in the neighboring province of Ghazni. Imam, one of the captives, said no ransom was paid and they were not tortured while in captivity before being rushed to Ghazni city. Authorities refused to give details, but Haji Zahir, Ghazni province tribal elder who facilitated the release, said that the Taliban freed the 4 only on the occasion of Eid. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid also said that they freed the 4 Turkish engineers on the occasion of Eid. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said on Saturday that coalition forces would now focus their attention in Afghanistan to handing back responsibility to authorities there. In her weekly podcast, which focused on terrorism as the 10th anniversary of the September 11 attacks approaches, Merkel said that in the future they will focus on handing over the responsibility for security in Afghanistan step by step to the authorities, which will be a long process, but this process is going in the right direction. She added that the next steps for Afghanistan would be discussed at an international conference which will take place in Germany in December. Merkel said the fight against terrorism had helped mold strong international bonds and that this was especially the case with the transatlantic alliance. Germany has around 5,200 soldiers deployed as part of NATO's mission in Afghanistan and has lost 52 soldiers since the operation began in 2001. Pakistan's Interior Minister has called on Afghan President Hamid Karzai to help win the freedom of around 30 young Pakistanis being held captive by Islamist militants. The youths were abducted in Afghanistan 4 days ago after crossing into Kunar province on day trip from their border villages. The Pakistani Taliban say they abducted them because they belong to a tribe opposed to the militants. In comments to reporters, Minister Rahman Malik requested Karzai get the boys released, while Afghan officials have said they are not aware of the kidnapping. Pakistani officials have said the captives were under 16. The Taliban say they have released the youngsters and are only holding young men. 1 person died and 5 others were injured after a fire engulfed a building Sunday morning in East China's Jiangxi province, said local fire control authorities. The fire broke out around 5 a.m. local time at an 8-story building in the downtown area in the provincial capital city of Nanchang, said a spokesman with the city's fire control contingent. Firefighters had extinguished the blaze and rescued 11 people trapped by the fire. 6 of them were found injured and rushed to 2 hospitals, and 1 of the injured died later after failing to respond to emergency treatments, said the spokesman. The cause of the incident is under investigation. At least 17 people have been killed and more than 43 others are missing after Typhoon Tala swept across western Japan. More than 450,000 people were ordered to evacuate their homes as the tropical storm caused flooding and landslides on Sunday on its path northwards towards the Sea of Japan. In one area alone, Nara Prefecture, more than 1,600 millimeters of rain fell, causing landslides, which swept a 73-year-old man to his death when when his wooden house collapsed. Currently, more than 73,000 people remain without electricity. According to NHK, 94 people were injured in 18 prefectures in central and western Japan, while further torrential rain continued to hit the Kai Peninsula in neighboring areas. Iran's first nuclear power plant has started adding electricity to the national grid, media reported on Sunday, saying the power station that was hit by years of delays finally came on stream on Saturday night. The SNA news agency reported that the Bushehr nuclear power plant joined the national grid on Saturday at 23:29 local time with the power of around 60 megawatts. Hamid Khadim Qaimi, spokesman for the Atomic Energy Organization, said that the power plant would be officially inaugurated by September 12, by which time it would be operating at 40% capacity. The agency was not immediately available to comment. The 1,000-megawatt plant on the Gulf Coast is the first of what Iran hopes will be a network that will reduce its reliance on its abundant fossil fuels. Iran is under international sanctions due to fears its nuclear program is aimed at making atomic weapons, something it denies. Libyan fighters who said they had tried to negotiate a peaceful transfer of power of Bani Walid, a key city still controlled by supporters of toppled leader Muammar Gaddafi, have said that talks had reached a stalemate. According to members of the National Transitional Council, the talks failed at midday on Sunday after numerous attempts to move forward with a bloodless handover of control. Some NTC fighters who established a front line about 30 kilometers from Bani Walid suggested on Saturday that the town could be attacked within hours. Abdul Razak Naduri, an NTC military commander nearby Tarhona, said that one of Gaddafi's sons, Saadi, was in the town while another, Saif al-Islam, had recently fled. Musa Ibrahim, Gaddafi's spokesperson, meanwhile dismissed suggestions that Bani Walid was about to surrender and insisted that tribal leaders there were still loyal to the deposed leader. The European Union imposed a ban on purchases of Syrian oil on Saturday and warned of further steps unless President Bashar al-Assad's government ends its 5-month crackdown on dissent. The sanctions mark the first time Europe has targeted Syrian industry in a bid to stem the violence, which claimed another 4 lives on Saturday and has so far killed more than 2,200 people, according to the United Nations. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 3 people were killed after security forces went into the village of Haish, near the second city, Aleppo, looking for Attorney General Adnan Bakur, who resigned last month, in a video posted on YouTube. Meanwhile, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross began a visit to Syria to discuss gaining access for the first time to its prisons, where thousands of activists and other civilians arrested in pro-democracy protests are believed to be held. In the last but not the least, all 21 people aboard a military aircraft that crashed into the Pacific Ocean off the remote Juan Fernandez Islands perished, Chile's government said on Saturday, as rescuers and fishermen scoured for bodies. Search and rescue teams have recovered 4 bodies so far in the wake of Friday's crash. The CASA 2012 military plane tried twice to land on Friday before it went missing as heavy winds and sporadic rains hit the area. Among the passengers were 5 TV and national television staff members who were planning to film a report about reconstruction on the islands after last year's devastating earthquake and tsunami. The islands were badly hit by the tsunami. And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us.